Okay, I'm just gonna bring you guys all up to speed while we wait for Isabella to join in as well. But Lindani had a great question that Braden answered with a funny joke about, do we need to download anything to code in? And no, not for today. We're going to be doing the microbit today, and we're going to be using something in the browser that you don't have to download. And I'll show you when we get to that. And then also, Lindani, you should have gotten an email with access to CodePlant Live. And if you go to that website from the email, there's a section that you paste in your access key, and then you get into CodePlant Live, just like here on my screen. And then once you're in there, you can type the who am I command, and that will unlock all your tabs. So then you'll be able to click through the tabs, and then I can talk. When you're at that point, I can share some more. Just let me know in the chat or by turning on your audio and let me know if that makes sense. Okay, so it makes sense. Great. Okay. I'm just going to do a little bit of review for Lindani's sake, and maybe for you, Leah and Braden, it will also be helpful. But I'm just going to review a few things while we see if Isabella is going to join us. But what we're going to do tonight, our lesson is going to be on the Make Code website, and we're going to be talking about the microbit, which I showed on a session before this rock, paper, scissors that we did before. We're going to do a little bit deeper dive into that, and it's in preparation for Saturday. Saturday, we have a live event that we're calling a Codejam, and we did one a month ago, and it went really well. We're going to do it again, and it's going to be sort of a competition project, and we're going to have two microbits and two teams trying to build something that you'll find out about on that day. So today and Thursday night, we're going to be doing a little bit of preparation for that. I'm going to show you some things about the microbit so you know what's possible, and I'm going to show you how to program on the microbit. And what's cool about that is you don't even need a microbit to start programming on it because of the website that we're going to show you. So I'm going to just put this down to the bottom. Somebody just make sure to tell me if if Isabella, sorry, pops in and needs to be omitted. But I'm going to continue on with a little bit of a review for Lindani. So what we are trying to do, Lindani, is to learn programming, but we're trying to learn it in maybe a unique way, a way that's more centered around games and also centered around making things with our code. So this CodePlant Live website that you've loaded up here that I'm sharing, this is a website that you can access anytime. And it's got a couple components here. You can see a video. You probably saw this how to use CodePlant video that popped up. You can watch that at another time. That walks you through some of the basics. And you'll see any of these, you can just click and it will load up on the other side. And it'll go through some of the different things. And you'll see here that we also have the previous streams so you could catch up. We've done a couple streams on commands, which is on the right-hand side here. You can type commands into the terminal. So if you type the word commands, you'll see here that there's a bunch of commands that you can use that control things. And one of the cool ones that we like to use is the say command, because it'll send a message out to everyone. I'm going to say, welcome, Lindani. And you'll see that should pop up on your side. So you can also type say and send a message. Usually during the chat, this is a great time. During this live stream, it's a great way to ask questions. And let me see if you're in already. Yes, okay, so you're in. If you do show group, it'll also show you who else is in our session. So where we started was really just the idea that anything we type into the computer here is a command, but we can also give the computer more information with each command. So if I do commands again, I can look at some of these things. Let me see one that's miscellaneous. Theme, okay? If I say help, that's another command, but I need to give this an argument. I need to tell the computer what help do I want. So I'm going to say help theme, and that gives me the help for themes. So help is my command and theme is my argument. And so here it says I can use this theme command to change the look of this. And I need to give it an argument, either 1, 2, or 3. 1 is the default theme, 2 is the clear theme, and then 3 is the hacker theme. So let me try that. Theme 2. And you'll see there, I have now changed the theme here with this command theme and the arguments 2. I could also try number 3. And that's also quite a cool look to it as well. But I'm kind of old school. I'm going to go back to the original theme, the default theme number 1. So that was where we started. We looked at how to control the computer using these commands. And then to practice that, we looked at these 2 different games here. So the first one we looked at was this drone game, which allows you to, if I say commands drone, I should get the commands for the drone, and I can try things like take off, and then my drone takes off, and I can do things like left or up, or I can loop to the left or up. I can, did somebody ask a question? I'm not sure if I just missed it. Let me see if Isabella's in yet. No. Okay. So I would encourage you, Lindani, to come back on another time and practice some of these, play these games. So there's badges to be won. If you see here the scores, everything you do inside of the CodePlant site earns you points, and those points total up and you can get badges. So if you go here to the lessons, it looks like Isabella may not arrive today. She might not. It's okay. She can watch the recording afterwards. So if I scroll here on this lessons tab, you'll see that there's a few exercises that are already in there that you can do. And each one, when you click it, it gives you the exercise. So if I wanted to try, let me see here, earning the advanced commands badge, you'll see here that I have to score 25,000 points. Yes, we are going to revisit websites briefly, Braden. Yes. That's the first thing we're going to do before we jump over to the make code to prepare for the weekend. That's absolutely right. We're going to pick up on our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Okay, so this is how any commands that I do, and anytime I practice in either the drone or the robot game, I'll let you discover the robot game for yourself. It's also a fun one that everybody shows up in at the same time. So if you're playing at the end of a live stream, usually there's more than one person in there with you. But we then moved on to the second tab on the right-hand side here. Is the first one we're at is the terminal, where we type commands and arguments, but the second tab is an editor. And this is where we were on our last session. We were learning to write 3 different kinds of code in this editor. If you look at the bottom here, you'll see we have HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Now, you might be familiar with some of these before, or for some of you, it might be completely new. So we're going slow. And there's a couple videos in the lessons here that you can go and look at. Practice HTML the Fun Way, for instance, has a nice series of videos here, how to make a website. And that's really what we're trying to do, is to make our first website to learn HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. Now, a couple other things. If you have any questions at any time, you can unmute your mic or send a question, raise your hand, any of those things. So at the bottom of the editor tab, there's also a few buttons that you can use. You can load, for instance, I can look at the examples from before. So I'm going to load up example 5, which is the last one we were working on. And I can actually share that to you. So it'll also come out on everyone's side in case you weren't here. Do I have a favorite type of code? Yes, JavaScript is my favorite. You'll see when we get into it on the third tab, JavaScript is definitely my favorite type of code. So if I say publish code, this is a command that's just for me, and I'm going to say example 6. You should get a pop-up there on your side that says example 6. And you should be able to go over to the editor. You should be able to go to load, and you should see example 6. And then when you click it, you should then see on the right-hand side the same code that I have here in the HTML. There is nothing in the CSS and nothing in the JavaScript. It's just in the HTML. And if that worked, if that loaded up into your editor, then you can go over to the terminal again and do the run code command. And that will run the code that is in your editor on the left-hand side. So that's how we can learn to code. And this is what we're seeing here is a GIF image that Braden chose in our last session. But we have a bunch of different things that we can swap out here. We basically were practicing on the image tag. And we're going to continue on with that a little bit today. I'm going to do a little review of what is the concept of tags in HTML. And then we're going to take a quick look. So I started up the drone game and I didn't get any points. It just ended. So that's my score popping up. You'll see here that, yeah, my timer is out. So just, yeah, if you start the game, you only have a certain amount of time. I think it's 6 minutes to finish. So just remember that. You can also reload the page and do it again as many times as you'd like. Okay, so we're going to go back over here to output. And I would suggest if you have either 2 screens or if you have the ability to split your screens in half, that's always helpful to be able to maybe see what I'm sharing and also be able to type on your own. But if not, if you're not able to share or split the screen, it's okay to just listen and maybe practice afterwards, whatever works best. Okay, so I'm going to clear. That's one of my commands that will clear everything in my terminal. And that I just do that so that everything looks clean and ready to go. And I'm going to start with our HTML code that we have here. We said before that we have HTML is a code that's made up of these tags. So it uses the greater than and less than symbols that you might be used to from math to make tags. And we have 2 kinds of tags. We said we have these that have opening and closing. And most tags are like that. But then we have some, like this image tag, which is self-closing. It doesn't have 2 sides. It just has 1 side. And then we also said that these things in the middle are sort of like our arguments and commands. We could think of this HTML image tag, we could think of it, we're giving a command to the computer, show me an image on the screen. And then with src, which stands for source, and width, we're telling the computer the arguments that we want to give it. The same as when we're writing commands on the command line in the terminal. So I'm going to remove this src just for 1 second, and I'm going to put my own in, and I'll share this with you guys after I've typed it in. But I said before, I've put some different GIF images on my server. Oh, is Isabella's waiting to get in? Okay. Let me admit her. Okay, welcome, Isabella. We haven't gone any further than last time. We've actually just been reviewing for those who weren't in the last session and just catching everyone up. And what I said we were going to do tonight is we're going to look again at our website that we were starting with last week. And we loaded up an example 5. I'm going to just publish that for you now so that you'll have example 5 as well. Just going to say publish code. Okay, I'll show you. So if you go to the second tab on the right-hand side, that's the editor. And if you go down to the bottom, these yellow buttons, you want to choose the load button, and then you should have a long list of options here, and you can click and choose one of the options that we've sent. You should have some of the older code as well in there. Did that work, Braden? You don't have to just type the say command. You can also use the microphone if it's easier.
Oh, I just meant when you're done coding and you want to put it on your screen. I forgot what you have to do in the say command.
Oh, okay. Run the run code command, all one word. Isabella, can you hear now?
Got it. Thank you.
I see Isabella saying she can't hear us. I'm just wondering, can you hear us now? Let me see. Oh, Okay, just gonna see if we can help her out a little bit there so she can get in. It's definitely not muted this time. Just gonna see, maybe she isn't connected yet to the audio when you connected to the Zoom call. Okay.
How do you publish your code?
It's actually a share code for you, and it will come to me. The publish code is just a command for me to send code out to you guys. But I mentioned in another stream that eventually you will be able to share code to everyone. I just haven't turned that feature on yet. But now you could share code and it'll come to me, and then I'll be able to run it so we can look at it and see if there's any
I sent it to you. I sent it to you.
Did you do share code all one word command?
Yep, and I sent it to you.
Then Donnie, you want to type the who am I command, all one word. Just who am I, like this, who am I? And then it'll tell you your username, and that'll also unlock all the tabs there for you. So I'm gonna, oh, it was off, great. So you can't hear us now. That's great, awesome. Yes, fantastic, all right. So we were reviewing, and yeah, so I'm gonna run Braden's code here. What we were basically doing last time was just changing this GIF to different pictures, just to prove that this image tag can show an image from anywhere. We started with these ones here on my server, my code plant server, and I put a couple of them up there like skate and coding, but we also started copying and pasting from Google Images as well. So let me see what Braden has shared. Not sure which one this, let's see if this is the one. No. So I've made this Let me see.
It's called example 1.
Yeah, no, yours doesn't give example. No, that would be my example. These give your name and the time. So if you just sent it, I'm looking for something that's Braden and maybe 53, but I don't see one. Yeah, here we go. Is this it? So I'm gonna run code. When you delete a block of code you thought was useless. Oh, that's funny. Okay, so that's the general idea that we've been working on for those who missed it last week, that we've been practicing writing code on the right-hand side in our editor and then running that code with the run code command to see what it does on the left-hand side. And we were saying that we wanted to build up the basics of a website, and that I made a point last time that each website you go on, no matter how complicated it is still made up of these HTML tags. This is the heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. And if you look here, we said last time that those heading numbers determine how big and small the headings are. So heading 1 was the biggest one, and then heading 2 was smaller, heading 3, and so on. And then there isn't anything inside of, okay, so I can see a bug right here already, is that we have a closing tag for a P, a paragraph, but we don't have any opening. So if we open a tag, we need to close it. So you see, I'm just going to remove both of those so that we don't have one or the other. And I'm going to swap this out. I'm going to go back to my example, and we're just going to add a couple more tags to our example. So I was on example 5 here, and I'm going to run that for you guys just to show you what that is. Okay. So when I said that every website is built up of these same elements, I want to show you what I mean. I found this tool called X-ray goggles, and it's something that you can install in your browser. You can do it on any website, but it allows you to go to any website, and then when you click on here, it actually brings up sort of X-ray goggles where I can hover over anything. Okay, here's an image tag, and if I click it, you'll see it pops up down here. This is my image tag, just like the one that I made inside of CodePlant Live, right? So let me actually show you. If I take the one from here, I'm just going to copy this, and I'm going to go back over here to this nifty X-ray goggles, and I'm going to replace that there. And look, my image all of a sudden is now on the Google page. And the same thing is true for all of these elements. You'll see here that I can hover over and I can see what they are. It's almost like looking at the code underneath, and I can make changes. So here the word images, I'm going to say CodePlant here. And if I update it, you'll see here that in the right-hand side, that changed that word to CodePlant. So I just wanted to show you that briefly, to show you that no matter how complicated, it could also work for YouTube as well. If I go to YouTube and you see how they have all kinds of different things on their site, but the same thing, if I go to these X-ray goggles, I can go over here and I can look at this tag. Let me see, that one didn't load up right. Maybe they've got some sort of protection on here. Let me see if I click here. It looks like they are doing some sort of, they're hiding it from the X-ray goggles. Very smart. Let's see. Okay, well, so that's a bad example on there. I assure you their site is also made up of these tags. You can see it. It's just not letting us see them because they don't want us to fiddle with it. But in our website today, we're going to make a few more tags to just give our website a little bit of structure. So this is where we started with last time. I'll just send this out here, put my name in it, and I'll send it out as an example that you can put your name in as well. I'm going to just publish this. Yes, we're going to do the microbit just in a minute. Publish, I'm going to call this starting place. Okay, so you should now get this bit of code that you can load up called starting place. And it should look exactly like this one here on the right. And what I want us to do is anybody remember if we wanted to put a line across the screen, do you remember a tag that we talked about that we could use? It starts with an H.
Isn't it H1?
Ah, H1 is the heading one, but you're close. It stands for hard rule, like a line going across. HR, and it was a self-closing tag. So let's see if that works. Oh, I didn't want that. I wanted run code. There we go. And there we have that line that has been drawn across there. Now, if these things are getting too close to one another, I can actually use my CSS code to set rules about how close and how far apart they must sit to one another. So on this side over here, if we go to our CSS, we already have a tag in our CSS. Remember last time we said that this is called a rule. When the browser or the web page is loading up, it looks into this file and it finds all of these rules that it has to follow, and then it just puts it in there. So this, we wrote a rule last time for making the border 5 pixels solid yellow, but I can add another rule here called margin. And that, if you've studied in a word processor like Word or something, that's also uses margins. It basically just says all the space around it. So if I say 10 pixels here and run it, I'll see how it moves slightly. Let me move it a lot more so that you can see. I'm going to say 100 pixels just so you can see a big difference. And you'll see it moves and puts a margin around everything else. So it will start to move the image, and that rule will get applied to all images that you put on the screen. So if I copy this image here and just put another one, and I'm going to change from skate to horses. Now I have 2 images on the screen, the same size, and I'm going to run the code. Now there's my first one. And if I scroll down, exactly 100 pixels later is my second one. And they're both the same width because I gave it the argument of width 750. I could change these to 150, and you'll see that that affects their size. There's still 100 pixels between them, but now they're much smaller. Are there any questions so far on this? No questions? Okay. So I want to make sure that you save your work. So I'm just going to practice saving mine right now with a different name. So you can do the same so that when you come back another time and we work on this, you can work on the same project again. So when you click save, it's going to ask you for a name. I'm going to call this my first website. You can call it whatever you would like, just something that you will remember. And that will now be one of the options when you click load. You'll also now have the my first website option to load your code. And what we'll do is we'll continue to add on to that each week as we build more and more onto our site. I'm just going to check the chat if there's any questions. Is the margin just for the HR? No, it's for the image tag. Yes. So in that case, good question, Lindani. I was applying the rule here to image, so every image will get the rule. I could also do that for HR. Let me just show you. If I go HR and I'm gonna do margin, now it'll double up. Did somebody have a question? I hear. I'm gonna put 100 pixels here for that margin, and we're gonna get to that right now, Braden. So you'll see we're going to use make code for that. It's makecode.com. I just want to finish up just this last section, and then we'll move over to the make code section, because I do want to leave a little bit of time for that to prepare for next week. So I want to add just one more new tag that we haven't done before. We've done all of our H1s, HR. We also did another one called BR last time, which gives me a line break and just some space, and our image tags. But I just want to do one more because this is one that I know any website that you use will need this kind of a tag, and it's a button tag. And if I say, hey coders, inside of here, let's see what our button tag looks like. Here we go. This is now given me a little button that I can press, and I can do something now with that press. I can actually now have code that will run when somebody presses that button. Now that's very cool when you're making a website, because I mean, think about this website right here that I made, this live.codeplant.coza. This is just a website with HTML as well. It's got a lot of it in there, but these buttons are no different than my buttons. It's just that mine have a bit of styling on them. That's all. This is still just a button. This is still just text. Let me see the output here. All of those things that pop up, like these icons, are still just images like we've been using. But how we actually run code when they push the button is the third type of code that we haven't touched yet, and that is JavaScript. So if I go over to my editor, we've got 3 types of code at the bottom: JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. If we go to JavaScript, that's where the code that we can write to run when this button actually is pressed. So we won't actually do that today. We'll actually look at Thursday. We'll start writing some JavaScript onto that button and starting to actually move things around on our site. But I encourage you to save your progress up till now so that you can come and load that up again. And I'm gonna also save it. So I started, the first one was starting place, but I'm gonna call this step 1, and we'll be able to use that as our next step when we start to wire up some of the JavaScript. So I want to move over to the make code and the microbit side, partly because we're preparing for Saturday, which we're going to have this event where we're going to have another competition, maybe boys versus girls, maybe some other teams, but we're going to look at how to program the microbit to do something useful. So if you look in your lessons, there is a, I thought I put one in there. I'll have to put it in there afterwards, but there's a link that will take you directly to makecode.com. And here is a great, we've used one of their tools before called Arcade when we made rock, paper, scissors. But today we're going to use this one, microbit. If you play Minecraft, they also have a great one for Minecraft that you can use code with blocks, and it'll run inside your Minecraft world. This is for making arcade type games, which we'll continue to use on the stream. It's a lot of fun. But today we're going to look at this microbit, which I've got open here. And it's very similar to the other Make Code Arcade website. So if you've used that one at all, it will be familiar to you, but I'm going to actually run through one of these tutorials. But before I do, I want to share a couple of videos that they put out, because this microbit thing is quite a cool thing. And I saw some videos that I'll just share with you guys, a couple right now that you can watch with me. And this will help you get an idea of all that's going on the microbit. So let's watch this video quickly, and then we'll do something on the code with it. Okay, it's muted. 1 second. Let me just get my volume up. Okay.
It's really simple to get started with the BBC microbit. You just need a microbit, a micro USB cable, and a computer. The microbit is a piece of hardware, a tiny pocket-sized computer. To make it work, you have to tell it what to do by writing a computer program. Programs are called software. The micro USB cable is used to transfer the program onto the microbit. Let's have a look at it. On one side of the microbit, you will see 25 LEDs arranged as a square to make a simple display. There are also two input buttons, button A and button B. On the other side, you will see a reset button and a small socket to plug in a battery pack. We explore the processor and other features in further videos in this series. The microbit can only do what you tell it to do. So the first thing you need to do is write a program. You can use different programming languages to do this. For example, MakeCode, which works as a block and text editor, or the Python text-based editor. For beginners, MakeCode is a good place to start. We've selected some simple projects to help you. Choose one to get started. The latest version of the microbit has some exciting new features. The microphone adds a sound sensor, and the special LED on the front of the microbit lights up to show you when this new sound input is measuring sound levels. The speaker lets you add sounds and instant audio output to your projects. On the front of the new microbit, its logo is now gold. This new capacitive touch sensor is an input that helps you interact with your microbit in even more exciting ways. And now you can turn the new microbit off by holding your finger down on the reset button on the back, and you can wake it up by pressing it again.
Okay, it's interesting. As she was talking, she said that there's a version 2. I'm not even sure which one we do have here, but let me share my screen and I'll show it to you. We've got 2 of these that we'll be using on the weekend. Let me see. Can't see where my videos come out, but yeah, here's the microbits, and I think this is a version 2 because it has the gold logo on it. So let's go over to the programming interface. I'm going to stop my video and go back over here, and I'm going to just open up one of these projects and we'll just go through it together. Braden said a step counter. That might be a decent one. I think that there are step counters. Let me see. I think we could do it by ourselves.
I tried to do the watch, but I found out that that's really, really hard.
Is that a hard one?
Yes.
Why don't we start with the flashing heart, because this is the new one. This is new for everyone. We'll start with that and we'll walk through. So it's important that we can do this in 3 different levels. So I'm suggesting we all start with blocks, but then as we go and as we learn more, we'll be able to branch out and use Python and JavaScript to do even more. But what's great about these is that each one of these tutorials walks you through each step, and you'll be able to see on the left-hand side the microbit as if you have one until you get to here on Saturday when we have a live one. It says learn to use the LEDs and make a flashing heart. And then there's a couple extra videos you can watch. We're not going to watch them now, but you'll see here that it starts with this basic set of blocks on the left, and the forever block is also out there. We're going to start by just dragging out our LEDs onto the forever block, and then we can just click next. Place another block, but leave it blank. Or draw what we want. So I'm going to place another show LEDs. I'm going to draw something on this one. They want us to draw a heart. So I'm going to quickly see if I can do a heart in pixel style. Yeah. Okay. Then look at the virtual microbit and you should see the hearts and you're drawing blink on the screen. So you can do, actually, we could do 2 images. Do like an arrow and a heart. Let's see. Yeah. So you get the idea that forever is an event that the computer is calling when we start. It just means whatever is happening, keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. It's just like an endless loop. If we just do it once on start, you can imagine what it would just flicker once and stop on the heart. So that's a one-time event, but we need a forever loop to make that flicker. Now, if we go next, it says now, if you have your microbit connected, click download to transfer the code and watch the hearts flash. So right on this side over here, I can click download and you'll see that it put a file here called a hex file. I'm gonna find that file and then just quickly drag it to my desktop here. And you'll see here on my desktop, microbit came up. And on Saturday, when you connect this to your computer over USB, this is exactly what will happen as well. It'll come up on this as a drive that you can open up. And you'll see that there's just 2 files in here. There's a details file and a hex file. So if we drag our one that we just made onto the microbit, it's going to copy over that hex file and then takes a moment. So this is really simulating exactly what happens when we write. Oh wait, I wasn't sharing my other screen. So this is exactly what I was doing here. I was dragging this onto a drive and it was actually, now I can share my camera and you can see that it's now running on this microbit itself. Can you see that, guys? Someone say?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes, I can.
Okay, so that's the basic idea. And what's so great for me in learning is that this is exactly what we do at my work. When we're doing professional programming, this is exactly what it is. We create something in an editor like this. We might write it in JavaScript or we might write it in Python. Here's the JavaScript of it. We test it and then we actually make a build of it and we put it onto a device and then it actually runs. And that's what we're going to try to do on Saturday, is to make a game using the microbit as the brain, because what this thing can do has got so many different features. So what we just touched on was only just the beginning. Let me, on this side, just go back out here. And then on this side, I want to show you another video that has a couple more features in it.
It's really simple to get.
Let me see, I'm going to go here. And we're going to watch this one.
An input device is any piece of hardware that allows us to send data to a computer. So, if you type a message on a keyboard or touch a screen to make something happen, you are using an input device. An output device, on the other hand, is any piece of hardware that allows a computer to communicate information to us. For example, displaying a message on a screen, playing a sound via a speaker or headphones, or printing a document. So, if you want to play music on your phone and press play on the touch screen, you are using an input device to tell your phone to play the music. The phone will then play the music and the sound will come out through an output device, your headphones. The BBC microbit has several built-in input and output devices. The input devices are the buttons and the sensors for light, temperature, acceleration, and magnetism. The main output device is the LED display. Your microbit can also send and receive information by radio, so it's both an input and an output device. You can also add input and output devices using the pins on the microbit. For example, you can attach headphones or a speaker as an output device. If you have the latest version of the microbit, there are 2 extra inputs, a microphone for sound sensing and a touch sensor on the gold microbit logo, so you can program your microbit to react when you touch it. There is also an extra output, a built-in speaker to let you play the sounds you create instantly. So you can interact and create even more with your microbit.
Okay, that confirms it that it must be version 2 that we have, because this definitely has a sound input meter, because I've tried that out before. So yeah, this idea of an input and an output is so basic to all computers and all computing programming. So this is a really great way to learn that. Let's start a new project here. I'm going to try to do the step counter quickly in the time that we have left to actually talk about input and output. So what I'm getting here is just an open project. It's not like the other ones in the tutorials where it shows me step by step what to do. This is actually just an open project where I can make up as I go along. And so when you've practiced and done some of the tutorials, you can come here and actually build something. And on the left-hand side, you'll see that you've got your microbits and all of the connectors that they were talking about. And when you run your code, it's going to show there first, and you can test to make sure that it's doing what you expect. And then we can actually build it for the device. So I'm going to look here at input because this is where I want to start my step counter. I want it to start when the microbit shakes, because that will be one step basically. That will be how we'll know. Let's see what else it can do. It can do when the logo is up, when the logo is down, when the screen is up, when it falls, when it is turned over, when it hits the ground. So shake seems like the right one, because if we put this onto our foot and we step, it will shake each time we take a step. So that seems like the right way to start, but we need something that will count our steps. So in the last lesson, we talked a little bit about variables. And so we can easily just create a variable. And we said that it was just like a way of storing something for later. I'm going to call this my steps. And that will just be our variable that we'll use to store our steps. So it gives us, every time we create a variable, it gives us 3 new blocks. It gives us one that we can use to set our variable. It gives us one that we can use to change our variable. And then it gives us one that we can use to call up our variable or to read the value that we've stored in our variable. So the first thing I want to do is set it when we start to 0. That makes sense. And then I want to also, if I go back to my variables, I want to change it every time it shakes. Okay, so that would mean that at start, I have a variable called my steps and it's set to 0. Every time I shake, that variable is going to go up. But right now, I don't have any way of showing that variable is going up because it's sort of hidden in the background. So that's where I can come here on my LEDs. Let me see. I know that there's a way to show our output. Let me see where it is. And I think that's it. Plot.
How do you put the code onto your microbit?
That's down here. If you do the download, and then let me share my entire screen. I'll show you in just 1 second, Bray. Okay. So you'll underneath basic, we have a show number, which is a really cool option to put, and we can put any number that we want in there. But I want to put, I bet you can guess, I want to put the number that's inside my variable inside of there. So when it starts, it should start on 0. Okay. We have 1, 3, 4, 6. That is a step counter already, and that's only a few lines of code. Brayden, could you mute because the dogs are barking, please?
Sorry.
No problem. So there we have input and output from our video, all in just a few lines of code. We have input is on shake. That's the input. When we shake the microbit, and this little button here just simulates that. And then we have a variable that gets changed. And then we have some output. We can show the number that's in our variable using the LEDs. So every time I go over here, it's going to update that variable. Let's see what happens when I get to 10. Okay, it starts scrolling. Okay, so that means it can support quite large numbers then if it scrolls there, because then it can scroll many, many, many digits. Okay, so on the weekend, we're going to make a game using these microbits, and teams are going to work together. And the game is going to be involving these input sensors. You're going to be able to use some tinfoil, and there's a couple different game designs that you'll have options for. But it's going to be a reaction game. If you want to get a little bit of a head start, there's actually some example in, let's see, which one is it? Reaction time. So this tutorial here will show you how to make a simple reaction game. We're not going to go through it now. We might do a little bit of it on Thursday. But yeah, it's just a way of preparing. I encourage you to maybe come to this site sometime between now and the weekend. We're going to also go over it again on Thursday, and go a little bit deeper into some of the other features and the other videos. But the people who aren't on the live stream are not going to have as much training for the weekend. So the people who are here on this stream and Thursday, you guys are going to be the superstars on the weekend and win the whole challenge. So is there any questions on what we've covered so far? We took a little bit of a review on the HTML, and we learned a new tag very quickly, the button tag, and then we went into the microbit and we started learning about some of the features and how to program the microbit. Are there any questions? Okay, I'm gonna share my desktop to answer Braden's question, which was how to get the code onto the microbit. So when you plug the microbit in, it should come up as a drive on your computer with the name microbit. And if you open that up, you'll see that there's only 2 files in it, and you can take the file that you made in make code and you press the download button. It makes a file that will come in your downloads. It'll be a hex file like this. You can just drag this onto the folder that is the microbit, and it copies that over, and then it sets the microbits program to be your program that you just wrote. And then you should be able to now come back. You do that by clicking download here, and that's what gives you the output file, which then you could go and find that. Did that help, Brayden?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I encourage you to, yeah, like I said, come back and try out more practice before Thursday. And if you have any questions, send them along to me. We're going to be here at 5:30 again on Thursday, getting some prep for Saturday. And yeah, if there's no questions, have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.